They didn't let you have it because you were black.
I believe that's the reason.
You believe the same thing?
We go through a lot of things with that. Our eyes are open now to a lot of things we may not have saw before. So little things like that we recognize.
Is it possible that due to your anger toward them that you may be living in an illusion?
Who has
We don't
anger
have-
towards
yeah.
It
them?
has nothing to do with your color.
We don't have any anger towards
we're not
anyone.
angry
All
people.
we trying to do.
Who are not angry people?
We're not angry
Oh, you
people.
two are not.
Yeah.
Oh, but everybody else in them.
No, I'm not saying everyone is. I'm just saying, that's a lot of the stereotypes we get.
So you don't think that our people is under oppression?
Not because of the white man.
Oh, you don't?
Who
ruling the world right
They
now?
are under oppression because they have hatred in their hearts. And that hatred in their hearts is what
Who got
holding them
hatred in their
back.
hearts?
Black people.
So you have hatred in your heart?
I had it, but it's gone now.
Okay, so
And it doesn't start with the white people. It starts with most black men and women hate their mothers and grandmothers. And because they won't forgive them, they're living in darkness. And in that darkness, they're living in illusion. And so they've been told by the enemies of good that it's the white man, when it's really they're hating their mothers and yearning for their fathers.
So
Have you ever heard of Stockholm Syndrome?
Yes.
You know what that is?
Yes.
What is it?
It's when Patty Davis was captured by the Black Panthers, and they tortured her, and she began to hate them. And once she began to hate them, she identified with them and started supporting them.
Okay.
As you become attracted
So
to what you
are
hate.
you talking like Patty Hearst right now?
How's that?
Because you loving the oppressor. Now, is our nation being oppressed right now?
No, not by white people.
Who are we getting oppressed by then?
Black people.
I don't understand.
So I do love all people. I love white people.
But you don't love black
the Jews. I love the blacks. But you can't say you love the whites.
Yes, I did. I said I love everybody.
No, everybody is not white. You said something else that I got to get to. You said that an example of being oppressed is that the blacks are in jail, they're committing violence, gang members and stuff like that. Do you blame white people for that?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
So I grew up under the Jim Crow laws.
It's not fully their fault.
I remember for colors only signs, for whites only signs, I was restricted to where I can live. But because we had fathers and mothers getting married, out of wedlock birth was an embarrassment. Abortion was unheard of. Blacks were taught to work and build. I have family members who own land. Some of them never worked the plantation because they owned land and did their own thing. They were not going to jail. I didn't grow up with one person going to jail. No one around me was going to jail. If white people were oppressing and we were under the Jim Crow laws and they were causing black on black violence and incarceration, why didn't we see it then instead of now? Why didn't we see it then?
So you don't think that that's hatred?
No, but tell me why the question is, if it's the fault of the oppressor that blacks are in jail, why didn't we see it back then as opposed to now?
Why didn't we see it back in Jim Crow days?
Yes.
Actually, our people was more actually structured back in those days. They was fighting for their equal rights. They was more organized. They were
not organized.
Yeah, right
they
now.
They weren't even thinking
right
of being
now,
organized.
everybody is going
it's
for
not
self.
True. They were not organized at all. They were living. They were not identifying with preachers. They were not identifying with black politicians or anybody. They only got their identity from family, from God, and from family. They were not. They had no leaders. And they were better
they
off
became
dead.
organized.
See, now this is what.
And that's a good point. They became organized.
This is why you need to understand about a Hebrew Israelite. Because when everybody understands who they are and why things happen the way that they happen, then you will understand where you're going. You will understand what's taking place. You will understand that we need to move forward and do what we got to do for the Most High.
But why didn't we see incarceration and abortion and all that junk during the Jim Crow era, as opposed to now when blacks are free? If it's the white man
well, you
fault,
know that abortion is being pushed by the government upon our black people.
I know, but the point is, when blacks were under those laws, why didn't we see incarceration and all that happening then, as opposed to now?
Well, right now, I think that they locking a lot more of us up. They have the 3-strike law, right? So you can get in trouble for one thing, and you can get 3 strikes off that one thing. So now our brothers is being, and now the jail.
But you're not telling me why it wasn't out of control prior to the Jim Crow laws. I mean, prior to overcoming the Jim Crow laws. Why didn't we see it then if it's the white man who is oppressing black people?
They did see it then. You don't think
Didn't grow up
who was
around
they
and
marching
see it.
against?
Right.
Who was spraying us with water hoses?
That's oppression.
But it wasn't oppression. It was a wrong law that was put on by the government, Democratic Party, by the way, the government, and it wasn't oppressing us. We didn't feel oppressed. We saw the signs, but because we were free within and we
Did Martin
believed
Luther
in
King
God.
think he was getting oppressed?
No.
He
The only
didn't?
thing that Martin Luther King did and should have done and then dropped it was to fight to change the laws, and so that the same laws that governed and protected white folks were applied to black people.
Well, the white
Other
people,
than that, blacks would have been fine even
the white
today.
people that you love go against you on that. They gave Martin Luther King his own day.
When you say that I love,
because they think that the things that he was fighting for was justified. You wouldn't even be able to sit in the front of the bus if it weren't for Martin Luther
that's
King.
why they
And
need to
Rosa
change the
Parks.
laws.
Huh?
That's why they need to change the laws because
He
and
he had to
then-
do drastic
and then
things
left
to change
everything
the
else
laws, and
alone.
he did his with peace. We got Malcolm X who
When
do
you
it.
say the white people that I love, am I not supposed to love them?
Yeah, I'm saying you love
Should
them,
I
but,
love white people?
But do you think you white?
So let me
Or
ask
do
you.
you think you what are you?
I'm asking you, should I love white people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
if they
why
love
you
you.
say the white people that you're supposed to love? As though I should love them.
Because what I'm saying is the way that you're expressing your love is different from mine.
How's that?
Because you're condoning wickedness.
How's that?
Because it's a lot of wickedness that takes place that they have done against our people, and you want to have a blind eye to it.
How am I having a blind eye?
It's like
okay,
you're
now
not
when we came
recognizing.
over here in slave ships, was that racism?
No.
That
It
wasn't
wasn't?
racism?
He just playing.
Why do you
What
say
kind of
that?
show we on, yo?
Why do you say that was racism?
To capture and force people to go somewhere that they don't want to go.
And who were the racists promoting that, doing that? Who were the people doing that?
The so-called white man.
No, that's not true.
It's not true.
Black people were sold into slavery by blacks, wealthy, to the Arabs.
Let's get Psalms
And it was
83.
Yeah,
it
that's-
was the
Let's get
Arabs.
Psalms 83 real
Let me
quick.
just finish this, and
All
then
right.
we'll get to that. We will.
Okay.
It was the Arabs who sold the blacks across the world. It wasn't white people who just tiptoed over to Africa and just bought took white folks. They were being sold by other black people. Is that racism for black? And they're still doing that today in parts of Africa where blacks are enslaved by other blacks and Arabs. Is that
Where
racism?
every black person
Wait a
is
minute,
not
wait a
the
minute,
wait a minute. Is that
it's not the
racism?
Okay,
same
so
either.
you want to justify
No, I'm asking
black
you, is it
people
racism?
going against black people, but you don't want to look at white people at all.
No,
for
just
nothing
asking.
that they have done wrong.
No, that's
they
not
used
true.
to grab our women, and this is serious. This is man to man. Me talking to you. You need to hear what I'm about to tell you. They used to grab our women that was pregnant, and they used to get a horse and tie both her legs to
to two different horses
and
and
split
make
her
the
apart.
horses go.
They used to smash our babies' heads. They used to feed our babies to alligators.
And that's
you
not
say that ain't
wickedness.
racism?
But anytime you have slavery like that, someone else controlling you, they're going to torture you like that.
No,
all,
but the question
all people
is,
have been in some
is it
forms of
racism?
slavery, and they have gone through that.
Is it
no,
racism?
that's not racism. But I want to ask this. Let me
What
ask this
show we
question.
on, man? This is a
Yes.
joke.
question.